Lossiemouth.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
I mean, I saw her and I just said there's nothing going to beat her. Give her £7.
So I personally think she should be favourite. And I think the price is wrong at the moment.
I'm going to ask you one thing that nobody else would know about you.
I would say, but I don't like custard.
Hello and welcome to the Inside Track, brought to you by William Hill. We are on to episode 7, and this week we're going to be looking back at the weekend that was with action at Warwick and Punchestown. We're also going to be looking ahead to one of the big races in our Anti-Coast Racing Focus this week, looking ahead to the Cheltenham Festival, because we shall be looking ahead to the Champion Chase. As well as that, we're going to be looking ahead to some top class action then this week. Really interesting cards at Ascot, Paddock and Lingfield. Hopefully we get the go ahead for all of those meetings with the very changeable weather that we are experiencing at the minute. And I'm going to be looking ahead to all of this in brilliant company, so I'm delighted to say that we are being joined by everyone's favourite paddock expert, William Hill Racing regular, as well as ITV Racing regular, Ken Pitterson. Katey, great to have you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
Yeah, I'm in good form, Kate. Yeah, I'm pleased to be on. Yeah, glad to be asked, and hopefully I can have a bit of insight to this programme.
Oh, definitely. Well, we know just from the radio in itself how well received your paddock judges are, and they rarely let us down, if ever, KP. So definitely it'd be really interesting to get your insight on a few of these horses looking ahead to the festival. And of course, James Mackie, probably waving your double green flag as we speak. Your boy still hasn't let us down, but I know we'll be getting into the details of Impero Passe in a bit.
Yeah, it was a great weekend, wasn't it? Like you said last week, it was proper national action, wasn't it? But even though there was a lot of rain and it was heavy ground, you saw some top performances. And obviously, yeah, we'll talk about what happened in Ireland as well, because my boy did it, didn't he? And I hope he carries on. But yeah, there were some nice performances, and we'll look ahead when we join the show. Yeah,
and I will be crediting you. He is your boy now. I am completely crediting you with him. You have two horses, him and Jerry Colomb. They are now James Mackie's horses. So yeah, they're yet to let you down. And so definitely for ones to keep following, but we will get more into that as we go on. Because the first thing first, though, we of course have to get to know our guest in focus that little bit better. So Katey, the spotlight is firmly on you for this. So I'm just going to run through some questions for you, try and get your insight, learn more about you, of course. So I hope you're prepared for this.
I'll do my best.
Yeah, right. Of course, you are the best known paddock judge in the industry. So first and foremost, how did you get into being a paddock judge?
It was literally, someone had this job before I did, and I just stood by him, learned how to assess horses in the paddock. And he had the job. I took over when he was on holiday, and then he retired, and the ball handed over to me, and it's taken off from there. So God knows how many years later, I won't say how long it is, but yeah, now I'm in this great position that I'm actually doing paddock judging for various outlets.
So many different outlets now, like you say, you just sort of, fingers in many pies, but everyone wanting to know more about the aesthetics of a horse. And we talk about the aesthetics of a horse. And if you really had to kind of narrow it down, what is the thing you're really looking for from a physical point of view when you're assessing these horses?
I think the biggest thing in a national hunting horse is fitness. If you haven't got a fit horse, you are not winning races, especially given the conditions we've got at the moment. We've got heavy ground, and if your horse is not fit, the conditions will find you out. So that's the most important thing, I think. And equally, it's as Aidan O'Brien keeps saying, a horse is mind. And you know yourself, Kate, having ridden it, you have to have a horse that's got a really good mind and temperament, because you ask a horse to do many things, and if its mind's not in the right place, you know what could happen. So yeah, those are the two most important things: a fit horse and a horse that's got a good mind.
Yeah, so looking out for those two things first and foremost. We will be digging into this in the context of horses in a little bit. Now, I'm going to give you the option of having your dream team. So you said about your years in racing, your words, not mine. But if you had to pick any horse over time that you would have loved to have owned, who would it be? And who would be your dream combination of who would train it and who would also ride it?
Well, the best flat horse I've ever seen was Dancing Brave. I think he was the best horse I've ever seen. I mean, he just had everything. He had speed, stamina, and he was a good looking horse as well. I mean, he was, let's say, the best flat horse I've ever seen. Training wise, I'd probably have to say Sir Michael Stout, because we're good friends. So if I wouldn't desert him, so I'll probably stick with him, and I'll probably still stick with Patty G on him. But that would be my classic flat horse that I would stick with. If we go to the hunt.
No, that is a wonderful combination anyway. I don't think many people are going to be able to surpass that combination. Your holy trinity right there anyway with those three. So no, solid answers so far. Now this one I really want a good answer from you for, because this is always a bit of fun. It went down really well with Leona last week. So I'm going to ask you one thing that nobody else would know about you.
I would say, but I don't like custard.
That's the best answer I could have hoped for ever. The taste of it, the texture,
Previously I was a pastry chef, and when you're a pastry chef, the first thing you learn to do is make custard tarts, and I hated it. I hate the smell of it. I hate the look of it, and I just hate doing it. And I mean, I think it stems back when I went to school. Because when I went to school, our custards were either pink, chocolate, or yellow. And I think that's why I just detest the stuff, and I just don't like it at all. So here's one custard, not for me.
That is a good one. I love that you went with the custard thing and not the fact that you were a pastry chef back in the day. It's something people wouldn't know about you, because that was 2 in 1, basically, the answer. I had no idea about that. So this has been very enlightening all in all. Right, note to self, don't go near Ken with any custard creams or custard in anything when he's at the races. Basically, we'll run a mile now. Right, now the spotlight is back on you, but for a horsey perspective now, all the same. So this is sort of paddock assessments from the season so far. So who is your best looking novice chaser of the season so far?
The best one I've seen, lucky enough I was in Ireland in November and I went to see the Dringmore, and I think I liked the horse last year, but now he's gone over fences. It's got to be Mighty Potter. He has developed into a really proper looking horse. He's got the physique, he's got the ability, but he still isn't there yet for me. I mean, I've seen him go over fences at Down Royal where he won, but at Fairy House, his jumping isn't spot on, but he's got a mighty engine. I mean, once he got himself going, I think around the second last, and he really kicked into gear. I think he's a really good horse, but once he gets the whole thing together, you'll see what he's made of. But I think he's a very good horse going forward. Oh,
I like that a lot. Then, like I say, when all the pieces of the puzzle all fall into place, and Mighty Potter is definitely the horse to watch out for. Best looking novice hurdler you've seen this season?
That's difficult. I've seen 2, and I've got to choose one.
You do.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm gonna go for one left field. I mean, I like a horse called Goodland. He won his maiden hurdle at Leopardstown at Christmas, and I was there, and the whole field overall was very strong. Best horses in that race, but I love the way he went about his business. He went out in front, and he's trained by Barry Connell, and he jumped economically. And what I liked was when the jockey shook the reins coming into the straight, he quickened without being asked too many questions. I thought he won quite tidily, beating a horse called Tagman, who's quite a nice type as well. So I think the race was deep, but I'm going to go for a left field one in Goodland.
Oh, I like that. Very left field. Just out of interest, who was the other one you were thinking?
Lossiemouth.
Oh, okay. That's all right.
I mean, I saw her and I just said, there's nothing going to beat her. Give her £7. I mean, she's just a colt. She looks like a colt. She's as a juvenile, but yeah, she was the obvious one. But I'll go left field. I'll go for Goodland.
When in doubt, always go left field. But that's going to be interesting then that you think that highly of Lossiemouth all the same anyway, especially from what we're going to talk about with potentially one of her rivals for the Triumph later on. Best looking open company hurdler so far this season.
I saw him last season, and it was Stateman when he won the county. When you saw him in the paddock, you could tell he was a boy amongst men, because they were much bigger handicappers, stronger, and he came out on top. I saw him at Christmas time, and he's developed into a wonderful specimen. Physically, he's strong, he's powerful. I mean, I'm not saying he could beat Constitution Hill, but physically, he's the best looking horse open handicap hurdler I've seen this year.
Right, we might just have a challenger.
Yeah, I mean, he beat 3 Grade 1 winners that day. So the form looks pretty strong, and I like the way he went about it. He travelled nicely, he jumped. Okay, there was a hurdle missing in the home straight, but I think he's got the full package for me. So I'm not saying he can beat Constitution Hill, but I think he can give him a race. Yeah, more to come from him.
That's all we want at this stage, to be honest with you. It's just something to actually turn up and give Constitution Hill a race at least anyway. So like that. And finally, best looking open company chaser this season.
Protectorate. I was really impressed with Matt Haydock. I mean, I know Aplutar didn't turn up for the gig. I accept that. But Protectorate showed that day that he's got what it takes. I mean, he can travel. He jumped at speed. I thought it was a really good. It was a performance that showed that he's coming of age for me. And interestingly, I think he runs in a couple of weeks' time to see how he gets on. But yeah, Protectorate's the one that has impressed me so far this season.
Oh, yes. And that Union, the tiny little Union Jack, we're still waving it. We're still holding on to something to Protectorate. Again, there, I like that a lot, that he was the standout open company chaser to look for. So thank you so much, Ken. The spotlight is sort of off of you then for now, but thank you so much for indulging us then with all of those questions and some cracking answers to boot as well. But we must move on to our weekend review, because the feature race on Saturday came from Warwick. And to begin with, we had the Grade 2 Hampton Novices Chase, won by the mare Gallia Delito for that dynamic duo of Harry and Dan Skelton. So Ken, starting with you, please, your thoughts on what ended up being small run afield in the end.
Don't take nothing away from the mare. She won it, and she done it decisively, but I don't think the race was very strong. It lacked a lot of depth to it, and that's the problem with our novices, is that we have a good novice, but the depth behind them are really weak, and that's what kind of puts me off our novices going forward, that there's no strength in depth. Where obviously on the other side of the water, there's a lot of strength in depth, and you can see that when they line up for their beginners chase, there's 20 odd runners. But yeah, good performance by her, but I would like to see her do it in stronger company, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's completely fair to say. Like, say it was a small run afield in the end and not for strongest. So yeah, but she did at least show her well-being then within that and bounce back from last time out. And then half an hour later, we had another Grade 2, this time in the form of the Ballymore Leamington Novices Hurdle, won again by the Skelton brothers with grey dawning even. So again, Ken, your thoughts on the race, please. Yeah,
I think this was a good renewal. I think there was a little bit of depth to it. I know Tom Lacey thinks a lot of the second horse, which the name escapes me.
Oh, Ginny's Destiny, yeah.
He thinks a lot of that, and he won there previously, and he said he was aiming for the Leamington. But this horse, great, he's still a work in progress. I mean, I saw him at Kenton when he won previously, and he got there too soon. He ran about. He was still learning what racing is all about, and you could kind of see that on Saturday. He came round the final bend, still couldn't get himself going. Everything's starting to fall into place, and then he got himself to the lead. I know he had a hard race. That would be my slight doubt, because it was a tough conditions at Warwick. But he's a horse that once he gets the whole everything together, his racing brain knows what he's doing. I think he'll be a decent horse going forward. But it's just that I just would like him to go to another race after the back of that performance on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd just like to see him again then. But yeah, this race is Leamington Novices Hurdle. It can throw up horses that then become big price runners in the Ballymore, who can tend to outrun their prices from renewals that have told us previously. So there might be the way, but like I say, some more experience on his side wouldn't go amiss anyway. And on Sunday, the feature racing came from Punchestown, where we kicked off the action with a bang with the Grade 2 Moscow Flyer Novice Hurdle, a race that Willie Mullins often sends his leading Supreme Novices hope to. And James, I mean, it's a given that we must start with you for this one, really, please, as it was won by your boy in Pair A Pass. So your assessment, please.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good performance. Obviously, when you look at what was actually entered in the race, it probably wasn't the strongest renewal, but when Mullins tends to leave one in, which was the case, he obviously attacked some acts at the 5-day stage as well. He does tend to scare a few others off. But like you said there, and we talked about it last week, I think if you look, his last 5 winners of this race have gone on to the Supreme, and I'm still undecided whether Imperial Pass could be a Ballymore horse at the same time, because he has won over 2 mile 3, hasn't he, at Naas? And we spoke of that before, because the 18-length victory that day was what sparked my complete admiration for the horse. I thought that was really, really taking. What I wanted to see from him was over 2 miles. Has he got the pace as well? It was tough. It was heavy ground. You're not maybe going to find that in that ground, but I think he still showed enough pace for me that if he went to the Supreme, he would have a right go in it. I know Facile Vega is going to be their first big one in there, and they want to get it to land. He's 5-6 favourite at the moment. But if Empire Pass did go to the Supreme, I'd have no qualms with him as well, because look at the top of that market, Facile Vega, Marine National, and Empire Pass. I can't see the British winning it at this moment in time, which is not good to say from our point of view. But like Yeah, like Ken was mentioning, the Irish have just got that stronghold at the moment with the novice hurdlers and novice chasers, I think. But from a sole perspective of this race, thought Empire Pass was the one to sort. The Model Kingdom back ran on really well. I think the heavy ground as well. She doesn't mind that. But it was all about this horse for Simon here and Irish Way. And he went into 6-1, didn't he? From 10-1 for the Supreme, probably joint around the same price as Marine Nationale. You know what? We don't know how good he is compared to Pascal Vega. That's the problem at the moment. We've seen Pascal Vega come from the bumper days, and we've never seen him in bumpers, have we? So we'll have to see. And at 6-1, he could just be a little bit of value for it, couldn't he?
Yeah, definitely. So, like I say, kind of the it's hedging itself really, and now he's from 7-1 into 4-1 for the Ballymore. So we're still not entirely sure exactly. I mean, no one is, even if Willie Mullins is entirely sure where he's going to send Impere Pass in the end. But yeah, the market is just playing it a little bit cautiously at the minute with exactly where Impere Pass is going to turn up. And the other graded contest on Punchestown's card was the Grade 3 novice chase over 2 mile 3.5 furlongs, won by the mare, giving away the penalty and beating the boys in the process in Impervious. So James, what did you make of JP's new recruit, and where does she go? Would they be tempted to go for the Turners?
I tell you what a superb performance this was, because when looking through this race, I was thinking, normally when you have a mare go against the boys, you've got to be seriously special, especially when she was giving away £1 to all of them when she probably should have been receiving weight. She was stepped up in trip for the first time over fences to 2 mile 3.5. She was superb, wasn't she? She was absolutely brilliant. I think heavy ground played to her strengths compared to maybe not the others. So if she was to go to Cheltenham and maybe being slightly better ground, would she want it? If you know what I mean, compared to running on soft heavy. But look, take nothing away from her. What she's done over fences this season, she's turned into a different animal. She's a bit of a superstar. And what JP McManus has done as well, buying this horse before she's actually really gone and shown it. Yes, she's shown it to a good level against the girls, but to go and show against the boys now, was a serious performance for me. Talking about the Arkle, the Turners, all the mares chase, look, I think it'd be stupid not for them to have a crack at the mares chase. I know it's a Grade 2 compared to a Grade 1, but everyone, and even though how many winners JP McManus has had at the festival, he probably still wants as many winners as possible. And I think the mares chase route is probably the way she'll go. The Arkle's obviously very tough. He's got John Bon in there. In the Turners, you wouldn't, like Andy Holding said, he could said St. Roy there. So they might already have runners in there. Whereas the mares chase, they've had Ellie May for the last few seasons. Obviously, won it last year. This is his best chance this season. And she was 7-2 into 15-8 with William Hill. I am a huge fan of Allegoria de Bassi, but if I'm playing it from a sensible point of view, she has shown more over fences this season than what Allegoria de Bassi has. So I personally think she should be favourite. And I think the price is wrong at the moment. Not to say I don't think Allegoria de Bassi will win the race. And I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from a price perspective at the moment, I think she should be the standalone favourite to go and beat the boys. She's shown way more. It's like a potential angle against someone who's already done it. I think she's got to be feared massively in that mare's chase because Impervious, she's serious.
Yep, I totally agree with you. And I was having this discussion on Twitter there yesterday, actually. And I mean, Allegoria de Bassi, the fact that she won a Grade 2 on her chasing debut anyway, she's going to be carrying the same penalty that Impervious is going to be carrying themselves. So it's not as though she's giving Allegoria de Bassi that weight anyway. So do just bear that in mind and do remember that all the same with that Grade 2 penalty. Both mares are going to have to carry should they turn up in the mares chase. Now, one more horse you wanted to cover though, James. We talk about the Triumph Hurdle market, and a horse that stood out for you then to potentially upset Ken's one of his paddock picks in Lossiemouth.
Yeah, look, I'm a huge fan of Lossiemouth, but I thought the performance of the weekend this weekend was Blood Destiny. And I know I talked about him when he went to Cork, and that was a really taking performance, winning by 5 lengths. But what he did on Saturday, that was really, really taking. I think he's gone in quite short now compared to where he was. He was 40-1 into 20-1 after Cork. He then trumbled into around 16s, but now he's a general 5-1, isn't he, for that Grade 1 at Cheltenham. The way he did it, I think Paul Townend's got a massive predicament now with that race. And look, the £7 from Lossiemouth, he's absolutely huge. And look, I don't think probably know where both of them are, because Lossiemouth has shown brilliant form, and every time you see her, it's like, oh my God, nothing can beat her. But what I saw from Blood Destiny, I wouldn't want to take him on either. So I think Mullins, he hasn't really ever had the stronghold in that Triumph Hurdle division, but the last few seasons, he seemed to be going great guns, hasn't he? Especially what Vauban, and he's come out and run well. You just always hope with juvenile hurdles that they come out the next season, and when they're in open company and they do end up doing what they did the season before. I like these two horses. I just thought Blood Destiny was very, very taken at the weekend. The ground was wasn't great again, and he showed enough speed and just enough travelling pace. Because if you're looking behind him, Nuzret's not a bad horse. I know finished back in third. Probably didn't like the ground as much as Blood Destiny, but I just thought we had to talk about him ahead of this weekend because he was very, very good. And I think 6-1, 5-1 for the Triumph. With Lossiemouth quite short, you can see people jumping on the back of that, can't you?
Oh, definitely. Like you say, what a predicament. Hopefully, touch wood that the pair of those two both make it there for the Willie Mullins team. What Paul Townend's exactly going to do between the pair of them, but yeah, exciting nonetheless. Anyway, now we are going to be looking ahead to the Champion Chase market. Now, from the Antipost perspective, this is our race in focus, looking ahead to the Champion, to the Cheltenham Festival and this week's show. And the market with us here at William Hill, of course, remember it is non-run-up money back with us here at William Hill, the industry's first to do that across all races at the Cheltenham Festival. But the market for the Champion Chase does read as follows. Energumene as the current 4-6 market leader from Edwardstone at 5-2, Blue Lord 9-2, Editor du Gite 16-1 in next. So a big jump to the next in the market. That's the same price about Grenadine, and it's 20-1 bar. And as I say, do remember non-run-up money back with William Hill. So Ken, I'll start with you, please. Your thoughts on the Champion Chase at this moment in time?
Well, I'm still gonna stick with Edwardstone. I mean, he's done very little wrong over fences. For me, I mean, he was unlucky when he tripped up first time up at Warwick. He came back and produced a good performance there. Won Henry VII at Sandown, went on and won the Arkle and showed what a really good horse he was. When I saw him at Aintree, you could see he was just starting to see the effects of the season on him. He didn't look as well as he previously didn't run a race. Now, sometimes you see, I went to the yard and saw him before he made his debut. And when I said he was big, he was enormous. Well, I can't see him winning on debut. He goes to Cheltenham, walks around the paddock because he didn't run that day, still looking fat and big. And he only hasn't got enough work into him. Goes to Sandown during the race, still thought he needed to run, and he put up a really good performance that day. I love the way he won the Tingle Creek. He showed that he can handle. Well, he's a mature 9-year-old. That's the thing. You have to remember, he is a 9-year-old, where most novices are 6 or 7. So he's got that maturity on his side. Love the way he won the Tingle Creek. I think he's going to have a couple, maybe 2 runs before the Champion Chase. But I think if there's a horse that can lower Energumene's colours, I think it can be him.
Oh, okay, then again, you're being very patriotic this weekend. This is great. You're giving us all hope that we might actually be able to fend off the Irish then come the festival. But yeah, Edwardstone, who interestingly, despite him being the second season novice, then has actually got one more run to his name than our current Champion Chase winner in Energumene. But the pair will hopefully face off then again this weekend. So yeah, James, Ken makes a really strong case there for Edwardstone, apologies, at his current price at 5-2 to take on Energumene. But what are your thoughts?
Look, I know it's boring, but I think there's no looking past Energumene for me. Look, I respect Edwardstone. I respect what Ken says. He's a brilliant horse. There's a few factors for me. I know he's a much better horse than obviously when he fell. It's a mistake. It happens with horses. They're animals, not machines. Look, you can look over that. The 9-year-old angle is something I do look at with Cheltenham, and like we're looking at stats of horses. This is where I'm not a fan of appreciating in either the Arkle or the Turners. And I know it's different where they haven't had certain with novices, they haven't had as many runs and stuff like that. But I just don't like it when it comes to a festival and older horse. And sometimes it can play to your strengths. I don't think this Champion Chase is one of the greatest renewals we'll ever see of the race. I don't think it's probably been it's been a race that's been built up every year, and we've never actually seen it. If you remember the days where Chac and Poursoir was supposed to turn up, Altour was supposed to turn up, Defi du Soy was supposed to turn up, it never ends up happening. Like Energumene's, the 1 year hasn't turned up when he went to it was an Arkle. Like there's always stuff that happens before, and we haven't seen, like when Long Press came out last week, the Gold Cup, we are going to see more horses, unfortunately, before the festival not run. But at this moment in time, talking about it, Blue Lord's going to be tough to beat up what he did. Edwardstone's going to be very tough to beat, but I think Energumene, for me, is one of the strongest favourites to beat bar Constitutional in the current markets. I really, really do like Energumene. You can run him on good to soft. You can run him on heavy. He's got pace. He's got stamina. He jumps like a stag. I just don't see anything really wrong with him. He's won 10 of his last 11 races. He's won 4 Grade 1s. Including obviously the Champion Chase last season that fell apart really with Shishkin coming out early on in the race. But his only loss came to Shishkin in that Clarence House Chase, and that was one of the races for the ages, wasn't it? He was brilliant. So I think you need a performance like that to beat him. And I don't know whether Edwardstone has got it in him to put up a performance like that against him. I think he's a brilliant horse, Edwardstone, but I don't think he's to the levels that Shishkin was last season. And I think you need to beat Energumene. So I think it's fairly simple when it comes to that. And I know he's a short price. So he's probably a horse you put in your multiples unless you want to back it singly. But I'd probably wait until to the day, because I don't know how much shorter, unless this weekend when they take each other on, Energumene does truly show Edwardstone how to win a race, or could it be vice versa? We don't know. So that's the beauty with anti-post markets. But if I was having a look and want like a little sneaky each way at this point, a slightly bigger price, I think 16-1 William Hill. I'd just give a little shout to Grenadine. I think he's still improving. I know he was trounced at Sandown by Edwardstone, but if you look at what he did 2 years ago in this race, I think he only finished 3 or 4 lengths back and forth. I think that was quite a good renewal. I think he's not going to go to the Dublin Race Festival this season. They botted him out, so we didn't see him last season in the race. We've seen him twice before under a massive way at Exeter, where he improved. He finished second at Sandown behind Edwardstone, who was brilliant. I just saw 16-1 when he's a similar price as Editor de Gite. I thought he was a much better horse than Editor de Gite. So if he could sneak third, I think Grenadine might be an each way play, but I can't look past Energumene from the winning angle.
Yeah, I'm the same though. I'm sorry, Ken, we're taking you on with Energumene. I like to say, I think his 4-6 price is actually very fair. He is the second banker for me behind Constitution Hill at the festival. But yeah, Grenadine though, good shout at 16-1 paying. Another 9-year-old, feel that he feels like he should be about 19, to be honest, with Grenadine, at such as the time he feels like he's been around. But yeah, you touched on it there, where we are potentially going to get some market moves from this weekend with the Clarence House Chase on Saturday with Energumene and Edwards. So both hopefully turning up for that. Now, we, of course, do have plenty of other top-class action this weekend from Ascot, Haydock and from Lingfield with the Winter Millions meeting. But starting with the aforementioned Grade 1 Clarence House Chase at Ascot on Saturday, Ken, what are your thoughts? I'm guessing you're still going to be siding with Edwardstone.
Well, the thing, what's disappointing is only 3 runners.
I know, yeah.
That's what makes it a little bit disappointing, but as Jamie just said, there isn't many 2-year-old 2 milers around, and that's the looking at the race. I accept what Jamie is saying about Energumene over 2 miles, but this race is over 2 miles 1. And last year, the reason why he lost was because Shishkin outstayed him. He's outstayed. I don't forget, there's an extra fence compared to Ascot compared to Cheltenham, and that's what happened last year. He outstayed him. I think on Saturday, again, how the race is going to be run, I presume Paul will go out in front and try and dictate his own pace, because Tom Cannon definitely won't be leading on Edwardstone. He'll sit behind him. He'll stalk him. I think Edwardstone will outstay and beat Energumene tomorrow on Saturday. I think he'll sit behind him and try and basically outstay him on doing for toe at the end. That's what I think. That's how I think he's going to run, because that's the only way you can beat him, is to sit on his tail and then try and pounce.
Yep, to try and pounce and turn it into that bit of a stamina test then, yeah. Similar to what Shishkin did in the race last year, to come around the outside and just to try and get him on that basis. So yeah, tactics all important, as we know, with this 3-runner race, but that's going to be the way. Ken believes that Edwardstone's going to beat Energumene on this occasion, and good knowledge there, and the extra fence as well that they're going to have to face in the Clarence House Chase, as opposed to Ascot anyway. So James, your thoughts? I'm guessing along similar lines to what we just discussed for the Champion Chase.
Yeah, look, it's tough, really, isn't it? Because when you've got 2 top-class talents and you haven't got any other field to get any cover or anything else in the race, it's going to go against it. I know Amarillo Sky's in there, and I was looking actually just before, 18,000 just for finishing third. Why have we come to this problem that you can't have, well, even 8 runners in a Grade 1? This race could be really struggling to keep its Grade 1 status, because if you look over the last few years, they haven't had a lot of runners, have they? Look, I'm going to side with Energumene still, because I just think he's the better horse. I think it's very different, because when you can have more runners, hopefully 8 runners in the Champion Chase, you'd like to think, compared to the 3 here. It's a no-bet race regardless of what it is, really, from my point of view. It's a one to watch for a look ahead for Cheltenham. And I think if you're looking from an anti-post perspective, say if Ken thinks Edwardstone's going to win, you don't back it. You could see Edwardstone win this, but Energumene go and win at Cheltenham. So if that was the case, you'd wait for the price to drift on Energumene and back him after the race. It's one of them where you've got to make your own decision, haven't you? But for me, I'd side with Energumene.
Yeah, still plenty of angles to bring into this. But again, like I say, we're not making much of a case for the prize money angle, at least with only 3 runners in this after the 2 big guns, seemingly scaring away what probably isn't much competition out there anyway, all the same. Now, hopefully we do get a decent week of weather and we get okay conditions and just the meeting to go ahead in general up at Haydock, because James, we do have the Grade 2 Supreme Trial, otherwise known as the Rossington Main Novices Hurdle. So your assessments of this race?
Yeah, only 9 declared at the 5-day stage. Is what we've just been talking about. I thought there was probably going to be more. 2 horses that interest me. Obviously, we've got to talk from an anti-post perspective because we don't know whether they're going to all turn up. The first one's Rare Edition. You can't not talk about him because I think, looking ahead to the Supreme, I think he's probably the Britain's best chance in that race for Charlie Longsdon. And I think he should probably be a shorter price. No offence to anything to do with Charlie Longsdon, but because he's not the Willie Mullins, the Gordon Elliott, the Nicky Henderson, the price of the horse is probably bigger. So I think if you want a bit of value in that race and you want to look away from the Irish, Rare Edition, hopefully at the weekend can show his credentials, because what I've seen of him, 4 times he's been seen since April. He made his rules debut at Sutherland. Off the back of that, probably Ken will tell you more, but he's looked to me like he's strengthened up, and since he's gone over hurdles, he's turned into an even better animal. He was been put away since October and came back out. He scored by 12 lengths at Worcester. He then went out under a penalty at Doncaster, won by another 8.5 lengths, and then at Kempton on Boxing Day had his 3rd start, and that was another decent field under a double penalty on soft ground and bolted up again, beating a nice horse for Paul Nicholls. If you look at the times on that day as well, it was very similar to what Constitution Hill did in the Christmas hurdle. So when you look at, I know some things with times don't add up and the races are run differently, but to get anywhere near Constitution Hill, regardless what it is, you've got to take that into effect. So I think if Rare Edition goes here, he'll be very tough to beat. But I have seen that Charlie Longsdon has said, if the ground does come up really, really heavy, or for say the ground doesn't come up how he likes, he has got the option of going to Huntington in the Sydney Banks Memorial Novices Hurdle. That's a race obviously won by Shishkin in 2020 before coming on to take the Supreme. So Rare Edition currently 12-1 William Hill for the Supreme. I think should be shorter. So if he wasn't to go for this race, I think Chasing Fire for Ollie Murphy, I'll just give a shout to as well. Really like him. He's run both times market race and combined winning distance of 32 lengths. I think he's a really smart horse. But Rare Edition goes, I think he wins. But just have a watch out for Chasing Fire as well.
Yeah, another unbeaten one. When you side with an unbeaten horse, they generally don't let you down, as we've experienced now, James. No. But Ken, just to throw that to you then quickly, James just said about Rare Edition. You must have seen him in the flesh of you so far. So can you offer us any insight on from what you've seen of Rare Edition so far?
Well, he's definitely one of the best novices we've got, without a doubt. And as James said, if he was trained by Nicky Henderson and won that race at Kempton, which Nicky's won with numerous horses, he would be a lot shorter in the market. I mean, he beat them and beat them well. And he's really highly thought. But like you said, it's not trained by Nicky Henderson. But I think he's the best novice I've seen on this side of the water, without a doubt.
Yeah, like I say, about 12-1 for the Supreme as it currently stands. If he does win this and win this well at the weekend, that may not stick around. So both of you with glowing reports then of Rare Edition. And we talk about good racing sort of coming up and such, but we do also have Alpha at Haydock in the following race, the Grade 2, the new one, Hurdle, otherwise known as the Champion Hurdle Trial. So again, James, your thoughts on this race, please.
Yeah, it's a race where I see some people trying to take each other on again, but haven't actually met. When you look at Epperton, First Street, I think Nicky Henderson's got a big part to play in this race, hasn't he, depending who shows up. I know First Street has also got an entry at Lingfield this weekend, so he could go there. But for me, I know it's boring again, but I just think Epperton's the best horse in the race. She's a top-class animal, multiple Grade 1 winner, Champion Hurdle, 2 fighting fifths, 2 Christmas hurdles, and obviously her latest victory came up when she went up in trip in the Aintree Hurdle. She's chased home Constitution Hill twice. It's been tough because if in an ideal world, Nicky Henderson wouldn't be racing them against each other all the time. The fighting fifth was a good performance. Constitution Hill blew them away. I think it was 12 lengths. She was behind him that day. But when you look in the Christmas Hurdle, it looked like she was getting closer to him, but he just put on the afterburners and went 17 lengths clear. So look, this is much calmer waters for her. I think she'll be very tough to beat if she's on song, and I would like to see her get back winning, because we talked about with Nick Luck, didn't we, that she might have just forgotten how to win when she keeps finishing behind these better horses. We'll see, won't we, at the weekend? But she's the class act in the race. But I thought if First Street ended up going here as well, he would have a big part to play, because we talked about that county hurdle form with Stateman. But yeah, Epperton for me, I know it's boring, but we're looking to find winners, aren't we? So I hope she goes and does the business.
Exactly. Winners are the name of the game in this. So yeah, she is currently the 4-5 favourite, but Nikki Henderson holding all the cards then for that race as it currently stands in the market. And from what we really know of them, if only you could have split them up and sent one of them to Ireland, then that would have been ideal. But who knows? Anyway, that's a whole other discussion for another day. But anyway, yeah, Epatante though does look the mare to beat. Right, that is almost everything from us from the Inside Track this week, brought to you by William Hill. But before I let the lads go, Ken, I have to ask you for your one anti-post selection at this stage for the Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah, the horse I'm going to go is an Irish horse called Home by the Lee. Trained by Joseph O'Brien. I saw him last year when he ran behind Classical Dream at Gorham Park. He ran okay, but didn't look anything that special. He ran. I think he ran 7th in the Stayers Hurdle last year, but this year he's turned his form round inside out. I mean, he beat Bob Ollinger last time. Okay, I know Bob Ollinger isn't the horse he looked like it turning out to be, but I was at Leopardstown at Christmas when he beat Ashdale Bob. He looks like a horse has come to himself physically. Looks great in his coat, and I love the way he went about it in that race. He really quickened up nicely, and he stamped his authority on for me. He's not going to go anywhere else. The Stayers Hurdle, as we can see, looks a pretty open affair. Most of the ones over here are, like me, old, so they're not going to improve much. So I'm going to go for the younger one, and I like Home by the Lee. I think he's a horse that has got a great chance of winning the Stayers Hurdle come March.
He looks a solid bet, doesn't he? Yeah, 5-1 currently with us at non-running money back at William Hill, Home by the Lee. Like I say, we know where he's going, which we can't say for the majority of horses going into the festival. But even so, even with the concessions that are offered with us here at William Hill, 5-1 still like a very fair price. So like that a lot in glowing reports again from the Paddock too for Home by the Lee. So that is everything from us this week. Thank you so much to Ken and to James for all of their hard work as per usual. Thank you to you for watching. Please do remember to like and subscribe to William Hill's YouTube channel so you never miss an episode of the Inside Track. And do leave us a comment below with your opinions on the Cheltenham Festival, on the races, reviews, anything. We always like to hear from you. Thank you so much again, and we'll catch up with you again next week.